Time for another special edition of Litter Media Live. I'm Dan Ramey, and in studio with us today is Jeremiah Johnson. He is a cybersecurity expert. I know a lot of people know you for Southern Ohio Forest Rally, but your real job
the one that pays the bills.
Working cybersecurity. You and I have talked about this before. You made a presentation here not long ago for some of the banks here locally, and I think everyone's eyes popped out of their eye sockets from some of the things they were hearing.
Yeah, I think cybersecurity is not it's a day-to-day thing now, right? Like everybody has to be really worried about it. Yeah. I think, or they should be, right? Yeah. And it's becoming a daily talk track.
And we're going to talk about that coming up in a moment. But first, this from our friends at Kingston National Bank.
Wherever you are, you're there for a reason. You shouldn't have to make a trip to the branch just to deposit a check. Skip the trip and use our mobile app to easily and securely deposit checks from your phone. Day or night, wherever you are, or whatever you're doing, download the Kingston National Bank mobility app today.
Talking cybersecurity with an actual expert here in studio with us today. Jeremiah, one of the things that a lot of us do is we have to have passwords for all the things we do online anymore. We always have that favorite one that's the name of our first dog or whatever. Yeah. But we saw in the presentation you did just a few short months ago, you got to make this as hard as you can because it can really be figured out quickly by a lot of these scammers.
So what was the name of your first dog? So
I'm not going to tell him.
So it is, unfortunately, it falls back to the users all the time, right? So companies will put out requirements of passwords, things like that. Multi-factor authentication where you have to wait on a text message. It is annoying. Don't use the same password, right? Because if one gets compromised, and I'm quite certain anybody listening to this, your name is on a list somewhere and your password at some point in time is out there. So if you've used that and reused it, it's a very easy scan for somebody that has malicious intent to find those. And if you use the same one, they're going to have access. If you at least use multi-factor authentication, text messaging, things like that, at least you could deny that part of it, right? But again, definitely don't use the same password.
Okay. Well, and since the 1990s, the internet has made it so much easier to do shopping, do our banking, so on and so forth. But the bad guys and gals know that too, and they take advantage of you.
Oh, they do. And I was fortunate. I had some conversations with Kingston Bank about this exact thing. And there's only so much you can do to protect the customers, right? And they do try really hard. But when you have people that just are doing all the things wrong, it makes it difficult. So that's why I said it still falls on the user. As much as the companies want to help you, you really have to take the initiative. And things like I tell people all the time, don't use debit cards online, right? Use a credit card. Debit cards, if they get hacked, that's your bank account. The banks will usually be able to get it back for you, but it does take it out of your account. If it's a credit card, you say my credit card was stolen, I'm not liable for that $1,000, $10,000 charge. Yeah. But again, it's becoming a thing, and I feel I have a very soft spot for the generation that didn't grow up with internet. I mean, I think I got internet in 97, so that's when we had home internet.
It's been most of our lives.
Right, most of them. But when you spent you're already a full-blown adult in 97 and didn't have that until later, smartphones, all that's fairly new technology. It's difficult for somebody that didn't grow up with it, 60, 70, 80 years old, trying to be secure because, like you said, you almost have to have online presence now, right? You don't have to have social media, but note to a lot of people.
My mother and father-in-law still do not. And it's like they're living in a third world country in some respects.
How did you not see that?
But they're probably the safest people around.
Probably, yes,
in that
absolutely.
aspect as well. But you talk about those folks, and it doesn't have to be 60, 70, 80 years old. It can be a young kid.
Lazy or lazy password young kid or
Yeah.
anything. I mean, the phishing, they again, I hate to say, but the bad guy market is a phenomenally successful market. I mean, there are hundreds of billions of dollars in success. I ran into an older lady at Walgreens 3 weeks ago, and she was buying gift cards, and the amount of $800, and maybe they were legitimate, but I just had to say something because that is a very common scam. They attack younger people that are just they catch them, older, middle aged, doesn't matter really, and they're like, hey, we're gonna repo your car unless you send us $1,000 in Apple gift cards or whatever the case is. And I had to say something. I said, ma'am, stick up my nose where it didn't belong, but I just felt compelled to because it just seemed really odd that somebody of that age would be buying $800 worth of Apple gift cards.
And sure, it could be graduation gifts. It could be
100%.
Christmas gifts, that kind of thing. But knowing what you have to be one of those people that says, hey, are you being taken advantage of here?
Yeah, and I think George Lavender at the event said it best, and George obviously, sorry George, didn't grow up with internet, right? And his statement was if you think that something's off or you see something, say something. He's like, if you don't know anybody else to turn to, call my office. And I just actually saw yesterday they did a post where a lady did that. Her Facebook account got hacked, and they were trying to sell a bunch of equipment and telling people to wire money or PayPal or something, and George put out a statement on their Facebook page saying, hey, if you see this, it's not legit. And I think that we have to do those things, right, just to make it easier.
And a lot of times, it's a shame, a lot of times people are being taken advantage of. They let it go on because they're embarrassed to think
100%.
that, that I got caught or something happened to me or I've been the latest hit.
That happened. Kingston shared that story. They didn't share the customer, but there was somebody that was wiring Bitcoin. I think if you figure out how to wire Bitcoin, you've put in some effort into doing it, right? I mean, it's easy, but normal people don't transfer Bitcoin.
It's not as easy as going up and giving you a $20 bill.
And it is not. Sort of and the guy, I think they said it was $140,000 that he had wired out of his account to a crypto exchange and sent it. Oh, I promise you are not getting crypto back. Once you send it, it is gone. There is tracking, but you're not getting it back.
Not very good protection.
No, none there. That's the point of it.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And I know Phil Adkins of Kingston National Bank, when he was in here, we were talking about this, and I'm trying to remember the acronym for the group. Is it SCOF?
Yes. Yep.
And Southern Ohio financial institutions all got together, and they decided we need to do what we can because the banks themselves lose money trying to get your money back for you if you've fallen into a scam.
My cousin is actually at Kingston Bank working there, and that's one of the things he does, wire transfers, things like that. He, if it gets flagged, he then has to manually approve it, or he'll call you, or whatever the form of communication is, and say like, hey, this really weird looking transfer is trying to leave your account, right? Are you familiar with that? Did you give somebody your username, password? Did you click a weird link? And they have, we're using AI more to combat against those things, to try to look for anomalies, but it's still, again, if you call me and you're the bank and I say, nope, let it go. Yeah. It's my money. You're going to let it go. And whether or not it's right or wrong is kind of, then if I come crying and say I need my money back, you're like,
right.
Anyhow, education. That's the.
Yeah. And AI is not a new thing. It's been around for a while, but it is being used more prevalently. And while it has good intentions, there are those who are learning how to use it for bad intentions.
Oh, very much so.
We really have to be careful with a lot of this stuff. I don't even know how to tell you to protect yourself.
Education. That's about it. Like I said, there's tools for organizations and enterprises. We have, like the company I work for, like we have a lot of technology around it. I think we're up to just over 500 patents in just AI technologies. We've been using it since 2012, I think, 2012. We partnered up with naval intelligence and come up with a way to validate threats, right? And then we come out, and that's how you get signatures made for zero-day threats, things like that, for threat feeds through a large language model. That takes a lot of resources, things like that. But the amount of data that's on the open internet that we exchange every day is not feasible for a human to be able to process it.
Wow.
It's in such a increase daily, right? You think about all the text messages, the data, the emails, all that stuff just compounds at such a high rate, and it accelerates very quickly. I wish I had the slides so I could get the numbers right, but the open data on the internet today, and you feel free to Google this, is equivalent to, I think it's like multi-hundred Great Wall of China's, if we look at the bricks, right? Each brick is a gigabyte. It's in the Great Wall of China is like 2,700 miles or something like that. I fact checked that. I'm off on my mileage, I'm sure, but the point is, it is a phenomenal amount of data that a human cannot just simply get their mind around.
Yeah, and that's where AI comes into play, because it can search and do all that real quick and easy.
Quick. Yep.
And that's why a lot of companies are using it now.
Yep. I do have a different stance, and a lot of folks are worried that AI is taking their job. I would say yes, it may in some cases. However, it's going to create new jobs, right? So AI has become a daily term, and most of the time, I think when people say AI, they're talking about Gen AI, like Chat GPT, Gemini, things like that, where you're talking to it. Mm-hmm. The problem with AI is if the person that's writing the guardrails around it. So if you want to go in and you want to, I'm sorry, not saying Dan Ramey is doing this, but if an individual wants to go in and ask how to make a bomb, it should probably not explain it to you.
Right.
However, if you work for the Ross County Sheriff's Department and you found a bunch of stuff that looks a little bit shady in somebody's house that you were investigating, and you want to say, could I use this to make a bomb? Then there might be validity in the answer that says, yes, these things combined can make a bomb. But there's guardrails that some human put in place. So again, if you ask it what it thinks about Donald Trump, should I vote for Donald Trump? And a very Republican person was the one writing the guardrails, you're going to get a certain answer. If you had somebody that didn't like Donald Trump, the guardrails could be guided to say that he's not fit, right? So you have, I have a very strong passion about this, because we want information, we don't want opinions, is what I feel, right? Like I want black and white. And unfortunately with AI, there's a lot of gray. Right, so if we go in and
it's like watching the evening network news.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and it becomes opinion based, and it's because, I liked Kamala because she wore this shirt, or Donald Trump said this and I don't like him, or Kamala did this and now I have a bad opinion of her. And so it's just, that's what I think that we need to. I think that's part of the problem with politics is we make opinions over something that wasn't fact based. So again, AI, I would like to be fact, but unfortunately you could be like, hey, what's your opinion on the Cincinnati Reds?
Yeah.
And it will give you its opinion on the Cincinnati Reds.
It's almost as easy as going, hey, Siri, or hey, Alexa, and suddenly you'll get some information, but you start wondering what opinion put that information together.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, again, and it's like Chat GPT now has access to open internet, which is a little, if you think about that, it's a little scary. Mm-hmm. It has an advanced voice, we'll say bot, that you can talk to, and it is a real conversation, and it knows it knows a lot. I have not stumped it yet.
Yeah, I know. Just recently, the Pickaway Ross Student of the Year starts his speech off with, I started like every other kid. I went to ChatGPT to learn how to write my speech.
Actually kind of funny.
and having said that, and I'm tipping my cap to him, you can do that. But it's our that generation that's coming up, are they trusting it a little too much?
Yep. And that's a great kind of segue into and something that, again, I'm also kind of passionate about is we have the technology today. $1 million, was $1 million, $6 million man. We have the technology.
$6 million man. Yes.
We have the technology today to let AI make decisions. So let's hypothetically say you run an online store and you have a server that is processing orders and you find out that that server is compromised. You are 100% sure that it is infected with something. However, that server also makes you $1 million a day, we'll say. What do? Do you let AI take it offline because AI knows that it's breached and it's infected, or do you let it keep churning and you find time to take it offline because it makes $1 million a day? So, I mean, again, you can tune it, but if AI's goal is to protect, it's going to take it offline, right? So that's where how trustworthy. How trusting do you want to be toward AI right now, right? I mean, I use it all the time for different things. Like if I don't know something, I'll say, hey, here's my question, and drill into it, right? But again, you have kids that are using it for doing all their work, and it's like you're missing the point of doing the work, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of good critical thinkers out there, but I think allowing something like ChatGPT, we're going to have fewer critical thinkers.
Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings. I think the critical thinkers will still they're going to use it when they need to use it for more advanced things. I want to believe that. I want to believe that those kids coming out will still shine. I know, I mean, I'll be fully transparent. My daughter asked me how to do some advanced math, algebra, and I'm like, I haven't done that since I was in school. I really don't remember how to do it. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, here's the problem. Can you explain this to me? And then as soon as I did, I was like, now my high school math teacher will be proud of me because now I actually remember what she taught me. But I just drew a blank. And ChatGPT was like, oh, you do it like this. And I'm like, that's right. Yeah. Forgot all about PEMDAS. Who even knew? Hopefully somebody knows what that is.
I had 2 years of algebra. No, it took 1 year of algebra, but I decided not to take a second year. Sorry, Jeff Sheets. He was the one that loaned me a Algebra 2 book, and
nope.
Yeah, I decided not to do it. All right, I know we've got a lot of questions probably people may have. Where can they find answers for preventing themselves from falling into these scams, protecting themselves, and finding this education that you're talking about?
So so as a company, like we have free training that is relevant at any level. I mean, it's silly things like, I shouldn't say silly, basic things, right? Like password protection, all the way up to more advanced things. Our CEO is very passionate about training. They made a mark to have 1 million people trained by last year. We hit that, so they said, hey, we want 2 million. So we offer free training. If you go just Google Fortinet training, you'll find the site. It's all free to register. And you can go through, there's a lot of stuff, especially for the younger kids that are looking to get into cybersecurity. I, through 4-H and through church and a few other things that I get to do with youth, I try to push a little bit toward the cybersecurity. There's lots of really cool jobs out there, and there's money in it, right? You can make decent money in cybersecurity, and it's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Like we're going to need humans for quite a while.
Yeah. And I will tell you that Pickaway Ross is one of the schools that offers cybersecurity training.
What they're doing, I so wish they had that when I was in school, because those kids that are coming out of there are the kids that are graduating from Pickaway Ross today are what I was 5 years into my career with the certifications. I mean, it's great what they're doing. And then I had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to talk to the president of the Ohio State University. And within the next 2 years, every single student that goes through Ohio State University will have AI in their curriculum. I don't know what that looks like. They didn't ask me to sit on the board for curriculum, but they feel so strongly that the next generation coming through schools needs to understand what AI means. Like, what does AI even stand for? I mean, not what it stands for. Hopefully everybody knows artificial intelligence, but what is it? How do we use it? How do we use it and not let it take our jobs, things like that. And they're very passionate about it. So it's a really cool story, and I'm really glad to see somebody taking the initiative to do that at a higher level.
It's been less than 2 years when then Lieutenant Governor John Husted was speaking at the vocational school, and he said, we're not worried about AI coming. AI is here.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to use it now.
And Ohio Tech, if you don't follow it, there's a lot of stuff going on in the Ohio Tech space. I heard somebody call it wasn't Silicon Valley. It was like a play on Silicon Valley, Midwest Silicon. I don't know. Anyhow, it's kind of funny, but we have a lot of businesses putting a lot of money in Ohio right now. It's really cool to see.
Yeah. And we want to keep it here.
Yes, we do.
Makes Ohio a better place to live. Jeremiah, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
We kept him far longer than we promised.
That's all right.
But we appreciate that. And thank you for watching this edition of Liter Media Live. And thanks also to Kingston National Bank for being our sponsor today.